Well, last week on the Personal Growth Podcast, we discussed recovering from surgery, love languages, and other things. This week, we are live via Zoom with Dwayne's brother Garry for
Oh,
episode 34 of the Personal Growth Podcast. He is a husband, a son, a content creator, and what seems to be an all around good guy. Let's find out what he's got to say this week on the Personal Growth Podcast.
Thank you, announcer. Oh,
Such a
I
good
love it.
announcer, that guy.
Yeah, every time gets me.
Nails it.
We
He just
get
nails it.
yeah, Gary. We've got this announcer on retainer. He's like working for chips, basically.
Yep, pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice. They're the Lord chips. No, just kidding.
the Lord's
Chips.
chips.
Chips and
Lord's
the
chips.
occasional Pepsi.
Yeah,
Is that like Chips
Nacho
Ahoy?
Libre. Nacho Libre there.
I didn't.
They're the Lord
Pop-
chips.
Pop culture reference. Didn't get it.
Right.
Get that corn out of my face.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Of course
win.
you would. Of course you would know it, Eric. You're in love with Jack
Of
Black.
course. I do. I am in love with Jack Black.
He's got a
I
little
don't want the money.
man crush.
He's
Nice.
fantastic.
Yeah, he's hilarious, so that makes sense.
He is,
Yeah.
and multi-talented. He's so talented.
Dude, his music's freaking hilarious, too.
Agreed. And the dude can sing.
Yeah,
Like, Jack
serious.
Black's got pipes.
Yeah.
Pipes.
Wonder Boy.
Jack Black has the pipes. Jack Black has the pipes.
That's true.
Are they black
All right.
pipes? No, just kidding. Okay.
Enough
No.
of the Jack Black Appreciation Hour. Garry, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're a content creator. What does that mean?
So I've been on Twitter for a while, and I love writing quotes, but working towards getting this book made. The brand was originally called Affirmation Starters. So the goal there was just like do a fill in the blank that helps people with personal development. And I had I worked on a journal, like journaling. I've got one published on blurb.com, by the way. They're really cool if you want to self-publish, whether it's books, picture books, all kinds of stuff that they have for sale, and they're affordable. It's actually surprisingly affordable. I've made one for affirmation starters called I Had To, and it's a fill in the blank. I had to, and you just fill in things that have basically brought you to the point where you are right now. So that's a simple example of one of them that I did. But
Okay.
I've done thousands of these, and really was hoping to do a book first and then push it on social media. And I realized, like, why not just test it on Twitter and see, what people think. So yeah, it's fill in the blanks, affirmation starters. I've rebranded the name to Destiny Filters because I felt like affirmation starters is more clear about what it is. Like you can easily think, oh, I'm going to make an affirmation. But when I was studying, affirmation means to basically repeat the truth. And for me, when it's a goal, your mind kind of is a little bit resistant when you are only, when you're trying to be that positive. There's a fine line between positive thinking and fluffiness. And so you're trying to get both to work for you, and you really don't want your subconscious mind to reject anything. So
Right.
I changed it to Destiny Filters because that was like, okay, now anything that falls in the fill in the blank is a goal and something you're projecting, and you're trying to get your brain to work with itself to kind of be triggered into success.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the
So something that you and I, Gary, talked about the other day in reference to creating goals and positive thinking and like kind of eliminating the fluff is like to have an emotional response to whatever it is that you're thinking about, right?
Definitely, yeah. About that, like, so the way that I kind of came up with this is I was writing to-do lists I'm managing an apartment complex, and sometimes I get overwhelmed. Even when I was doing part-time, and now I doubled, I'm doing 88 instead of just 40 units. So I get a lot of overwhelm, and you can, burn out. And I was going to school at the same time, actually, for architecture at Portland State University. And I mean, just total overwhelm and kids and family, trying to manage everything. And so I figured, well, that emotional response you're talking about, you need to, if you can, the way that you think about something, your perspective is going to create an emotional response. So if you put it in verbiage, like one of them I came up with was, I feel peaceful about automatically, and then fill in the blank. So something that you want to start automatically doing, like a habit, you probably should feel peaceful about it first.
Or excited, or like
excited. I
some
mean,
desirable emotion.
See, that's the other thing too, is you can take out that peaceful and say, I feel blank about automatically whatever. So I feel excited about automatically making a pizza, or whatever the thing is. It's, you can replace emotions and the thing you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's powerful.
It's super powerful, and it like really comes. I'm not, you know me, I'm not like super religious or anything, but it kind of comes back to some of the ancient stuff from scripture where it talks about ask and you shall receive. And like, if you get a little bit further into that concept, and some of the stuff that was left out of the Bible is like, ask with gratitude as if you already had what it was that you were asking for.
Yeah,
and like envelop yourself in that emotion, then that thing is basically already yours.
Well, yeah, because like they talk about it, the esoteric idea of like there's vibration, and I mean, it's very true that you're, even just from attitude, you can look at somebody's body language and kind of see, are they arrogant? Are they confident? I mean, you can be confident and humble at the same time. So do they seem like approachable person? All those things, but that you wear your emotions on your sleeve. Like, and a lot of people try to be overly, I mean, there's some people that try to be overly tough. And I think that, yeah, like you can be resilient inside and you don't have to be like intimidating. So anyways, there's, basically you're tons of emotion there, but we personify emotion a lot.
Right. And I think a lot of times that happens unconsciously too. And so like getting in the middle of that, like that process and making those things more conscious. Cause like my mind goes to like, there's been times where Eric and I are at Liquid and I'm unconsciously not in a good mood, and that energy is just coming off of me.
Yep.
And Eric has been a witness to this, to where he's like, okay, I know not to mess around with Dawayne right now, because his energy is saying, don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
And I don't do
hike.
it on purpose. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of different variables that come into play with something like that, but generally it's like like I was saying, it's an unconscious thing. But so like jumping in the middle and creating some consciousness behind the emotion is really important.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the ones that I love the most, I mean, I've made, like I said, thousands of them, but one of the ones I love the most is, I had a blank experience, blank. It's really cool because from a creative standpoint, just like you're saying, your emotions and there's a quote by, is it Einstein or Newton, that talks about how your imagination precedes reality.
Einstein.
Okay, Einstein. So that in that idea, you go, just by like your mind conforms subconsciously even to what type of experiences have I had in my life that reach that target, emotional target. And your brain just starts asking the question, what do I need to do to have this type of experience? And it like creativity. And then you start seeing like, what do you call it? Like,
synchronicity.
Well, that for sure. But the flavor, like the complexity starts upping, because you bring in this element, this detail, this timing, these people. It's just really fun for planning experiences. And like, what do you really want? What's the juice that when you squeeze the juice out, what's it gonna taste like? It's just pretty exciting to see the potential there.
This last affirmation starter that you just said. Yeah. Say it again.
I had a blank experience. Blank.
Now, do you so if you're putting that in front of somebody, how like, is the context supposed to be generated within the person who's doing it, or do you give a person context?
On Twitter, periodically, I give examples prior to the like actual fill in the blank, or sometimes back a while ago, I was doing the fill in the blank and then all the examples, like 3 examples at the at further down. So yeah, some has context, some like, I mean, by the context of what you're saying, you can oftentimes figure it out. I mean, I'm sure there's times where things need further explanation, but a lot of people jump on Twitter and just fill stuff out. But yeah, I mean, developing that content, whether it's YouTube or other places to share farther. What I was working on a blog on my website to explain and give a bunch of examples then on the blog.
I know a lot of the stuff that you post on Twitter. I haven't been as active on Twitter lately, but I remember seeing a lot of the stuff that you were posting, and I was like intrigued by it, but I was like, well, I don't get the context here. And so it wasn't as, I didn't connect to it as much because I didn't see context.
No,
but
that's fair.
Definitely on one, I've seen both examples, no context and context with examples. And I'm like, oh, okay, I totally get where he's going with this. And so, yeah. That's just a random thought.
No, it's good. Yeah, it needs it's always hard. There's that blind spot that pretty much everybody has when they're creating something that, like, I mean, sometimes I leave it. Sometimes I could put a connector word like 2 or 4 but I just leave it off on purpose because I don't want to make people fit too far into a certain way of saying something, like I want them to have you just run with it. A lot of people just like throw stuff out there, and most of the time it sounds pretty dang good.
So would you say pretty often your content you're throwing out on Twitter is getting engagement with?
I mean, yeah, I'm surprised at how. So there's 2 things. I honestly don't believe that Twitter is a good place to fully test an idea. I went there with that intention, trying to test some ideas. I don't think it's fair because of the fact that you don't have everybody's attention all the time. And there's so many freaking people. Good luck getting to your audience. If they subscribe, lucky for you. So you throw an idea out there and nobody hits it. And you think that, oh, maybe it wasn't a good idea. That's not true. Because if you had a more focused audience, like you were coaching somebody or you were whatever, like however you get that. I mean, even YouTube, but YouTube, a lot of these are so easily, you can just hold back, and that's fine. But I don't think that really gets you good feedback on, what's meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
What, Eric, what your experience is similar there with Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, and not like I have, 1 million followers. I think I'm like barely at 400 followers on Twitter. So like my reach isn't that far. But like sometimes I feel like I'll come up with an idea that's like hilarious and I'll tweet it and I get nothing. Like no response from anybody. I'm just like, well, fuck you. That was gold. How dare you?
Dude, well, it's worse
but
than
I bet you,
Facebook's not good, but it's way worse than Facebook.
Yeah, well, Facebook at least is, for me anyway, in terms of like, because I'm a joke creator, right? I guess for lack of a better term, like I write jokes. I'm a comedian. It's what I do. So sometimes if I have an idea, I'll put it on Facebook, and then based on the amount of likes it gets, I'll know, okay, this is a good joke for the stage. Or I'll take a look at how many different people liked it, because I have friends all over the country.
A lot of them in the comedy scene.
Say that again?
A lot of them in the comedy scene.
A lot of them in the comedy scene, but then a lot of just like regular people that I knew in, high school or from wherever. And, some people who are like super religious and people who aren't, and people who love guns and people who don't, and just all different types of people. So if I see that I've gotten like a positive response from a variety of different types of people, then I'll say to myself, oh, this is a joke that's going to work under any circumstances. No matter where I am, that joke's going to work because this guy liked it, and this girl liked it, and this one, and this one, and this one, and they're all so different, fundamentally different people.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a reaction